Welcome to this special episode of Rules of Vroom Vroom, a Formula One podcast. I finally got Andy here to join us on the first one. It's all Formula One for the next 75 minutes. Welcome to Rules of Villainy, episode 90. I'm your host, Villain Vince, joined as always by ROV Andy. Villain Andy. It's just going to be us two today. The mayor is taking a little bit of a break to get ready to walk down the aisle. And it is April Fool's Day as we're recording this, April 1st. How you doing, sir?
I'm all right, but Vince, I can see what's happening. And
what's that?
Frankly, I think we're kind of through, Brad has fallen in love. And here's the bottom line, Vince. Our trio is down to 2.
Yeah, down to 2. Just here we are. No, we know that don't worry, the mayor will be back. He'll be back. It is he's going to take a little bit of a break, and then he'll be back ready to discuss Lorcana for all of you folks. But we do have a really packed show, even with just the two of us here, and we're going to get into Underworld news. I will just say though, Andy, one thing is I really want to know if we should create little jingles, because I was like this weekend, I was like, really, wouldn't it be really cool to be like, it's like Underworld news, just have like a little like segue into, or maybe that's it. Maybe we'll just record that and play it every single time we go into it. It'll just be my terrible singing as we go into a segment.
Yeah, I've looked into that. I want to do like an old fashioned news. Dun, 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 and just like a globe like spins in and it comes out. And now live, 10 o'clock Underworld News at 7.
And Hiram bans in Infinity. Our breaking story. Well, not really breaking. It's been about a week old now. As it always happens, the major news occurs right after we have recorded the podcast. I just think that's a universal podcast thing, because this happens on pretty much every podcast I listen to. Is breaking news occurs right after they've released the main episode. But Hiram is banned in Infinity. Well, I should say it's banned again, because it was banned a while ago, almost a year ago to the day, basically, kind of in the same time frame. And now it's banned again for the Infinity format. So you can't include it in your deck when you go to DLC Indianapolis. But if you're just going to play at the kitchen table, or maybe a fun theme tournament at your local game store, you can still use it. He's still my boy, as Andy likes to give me trouble for.
Oh, Vince. I mean, I've heard like underground, like speakeasy style card shops still let you play Hiram. You gotta know somebody to get you an invite, but they exist out there. But be safe, If you're there at home playing with a Hiram on your kitchen table and there's a knock at your door, that could be Mr. Ravensburger. It could be Mr. Burger himself coming to take your Hiram away.
Yeah. Or he sends the Raven, which is part of Ravensburger. So he sends a Raven to get you. Anyway, this is going to set the tone for the entire episode here. The next piece of news we've got is that we had the Randolph Rosemont CCQ, the first Canadian CCQ. It's finally nice to see that our neighbors to the north got a CCQ here, and it was won by Chris F on Amethyst Steel, which, really great. I know a lot of our team members here love to play Amethyst Steel, and I think that's the first time in a while that it's topped one of these events.
Yeah, definitely. I think the ticker says Amethyst Steel wins Canadian CCQ, don't you know? We'll have that
Uh,
scroll across the bottom.
yeah, right now, right here. It'll be in a cycle between our ads. Uh, and we also have tickets. Well, we don't have, but tickets were going to go on sale here for the DLC Indianapolis on April 6th at 11 a.m. Central Time. Kind of figure that out in your own time zone wherever you are. But we hope to see you there. You're going to try to get tickets, right, Andy?
Yep. Think I'll still go for a competitor ticket because why not? That's a little more fun, but I definitely wouldn't be disappointed if I got an attendee ticket and not a competitor ticket.
Yeah.
Just because I want to go and enjoy the experience, but Infinity is not my favorite form of competitive play. Now, if we did a Pack Rush DLC, you sign me up for that.
Yeah. I mean, you're a world ranked Pack Rush player. But yeah, I'm gonna try. I think for an attendee badge. Obviously, I'd like to prefer to judge. We'll see if I get selected for that. But if not, I'd like to go as an attendee. Be able to film some content for the channel, and that'd be nice. Do some so that I'm not as like in pressure to do events for the main event. And kind of along the lines of the DLC, we also have found out this past Thursday that where the first CCQ of season 3 is going to be. It's going to be a D23 this year, and that's going to even be before the NA Championships. It's like 2 weekends before in August at the D23 Expo in Anaheim, California. So pretty interesting, kind of a high barrier to entry. You and Andy, you and I were kind of talking about that. In some ways, kind of similar to the Gen Con CCQ. It's like, but you gotta be a D23 member. You gotta be able to get the ticket. You gotta at least buy 2 days for to do it, just in case you end up in the top cut. Because I think it's likely a 2-day event. I don't think it's a 1-day event. And then whatever fee associated with that you have. But it is really interesting that we're going to have a CCQ before we've even finished, quote unquote, season 2. So it makes me wonder whether or not we're going to have more CCQs sparkled in here, even up until September and October, whenever Worlds is, which we don't have yet a date for when Worlds is going to be for this season.
Yeah, I think logically, it seems like maybe they just wanted to really be able to showcase Lorcana at D23. That is a huge event for Disney and Disney Sphere in general, and to have a high level competitive event of Lorcana there is kind of, it's kind of like, when the company brings out their, race car, like the corporate event, and like drives it around the block a couple times really fast. Hey, it's a show de force, a show of showing off how cool it is. And I think I've seen a lot of people give some really good takes about how bringing in Disney fans who get intrigued by the cards collect and then go from collecting to playing. It creates a pipeline that's much further expanded than just this playing at your locals, playing at a set champs, playing in a DLC. What about even before that, right? Seeing the cards at a park, on a cruise. So I think they might just be trying. It was like, look, you have to have a CCQ there, and they're like, okay, well, our championships are a week after this. We can't give an invite out that with that short a notice, right? So I like to think that championships is the last weekend in August, right?
It is the last weekend of August, yes.
So then I'd like to think Worlds is going to be somewhere, maybe they try and accelerate it so they give themselves a little bit of an off season. So, maybe end of August, maybe it's October sometime, right? That'd be like the earliest I think they could do it.
Yeah, because keep in mind there's still the EU Championship, which occurs in September.
Okay, so then probably November.
Yeah, we're
maybe
probably looking November, I think.
But also international travel you have to consider. Well, there's several worlds people who, whether they are from that country or not, have qualified in countries that require visas and
Right.
sometimes a month plus of notice and things like that. So um
And I'll say I think it's probably fair to surmise that. I mean, granted, I think there may be some extenuating circumstances, which if you follow like the news, you understand. But that there might be some extenuating circumstances. But I think it's probably a fair assumption that they're going to at least try to hold Worlds again at Walt Disney World.
Yeah. Now imagine this. It's Christmas time in Walt Disney World. The castle is snow covered. The fireworks are holiday themed. Elsa is out at Worlds, one of the Elsas from the park or whatever. That would be an insane backdrop to the first public Lorcana Worlds. Problem is, that's probably a prime spot, right? Disney has probably got all of its divisions saying, hey, I want our thing featured in Christmas time at Disney World. Or I want some piece of that cake.
Yeah. I mean, we don't do a lot of the park stuff for obvious reasons because we're in the middle of the country, far away from any of the parks.
Sadly.
But it is one of those. They have a lot of blackout dates, so folks that are using know how to do the parks or go to the parks a few times a year will know that there are easier and harder times to go to the parks. And depending on kind of what passes you have, there are blackout dates that you can't go or where tickets are more expensive. And the holiday season tends to actually be a pretty one. I wonder if they do. I've never actually been to Walt Disney World during Christmas, and I wonder if they do official. Like Florida doesn't get snow, but
yeah, I'm sure they do.
Maybe they do. I don't know. Let us know in the comments.
At the very least, the castle is completely lit up with like project. So when it gets later at night, they can project the snow falling on the castle.
Yeah,
pretty dope.
Yeah, but I agree. I think it is a short notice to have a CCQ for season 2 when 2 weeks from then they'll be going to nationals at the exact same time though. 4 weeks is pretty short too with Gen Con as well. So if you end up with the CCQ there, you gotta be making some plans very, very quickly to get to California for the NA championships. But we'll talk more about this as we go on. But we have a really crazy fun event this weekend. You want to talk about that, Andy?
Yes, this Saturday, which if you're watching this as soon as it releases, is tomorrow. That means you got to start sleeving up your deck and get a good night's sleep because tomorrow, April 4th, is the Impact Gaming Winter Spell Set Champs Triple Case Tournament. So not only will you get the playmat, the card, participation card, there's also 3 cases of product on the line that you can win. So if you are in the St. Louis area, you absolutely need to be coming out to this event. It's the premier set champs, as it is every set here. Impact Gaming always does it big, and can't make it for some reason. That's okay, but you should cuddle up and turn us on right here on YouTube or live on Impact Gaming's Twitch channel. I'll have links for those in the description because we will be, not only me, not only Vince, you guys know and love us, but we've brought back Brando, fan favorite, Lorcana Brando, along with first time caster, good friend of the podcast, Keith, from formerly Be Our Guest Lorcana, as you probably know him, but now he goes by the Mad Drafter.
The Mad Drafter. Yeah, I'm curious to see his commentary. He does know that this is core constructed and not a I'm kidding, Heath. I love you. I was just giving you trouble.
You think he's gonna be on for like, 3 rounds and then just be like, guys, where's all the lumpies?
Yeah, yeah. That brings me back to like the first weekend of the release of Winter Spell, when I would hear Andy across the table be like, "I got a lumpy, another lumpy."
Yep.
That card did work though in limited. It did work.
It's a good card.
Yeah, well, that's it for Underworld news and just our outro. Underworld news, do do do. And
Stay classy, villains.
But I do want to bring back. It's not in our show notes, so Andy doesn't know this. The Quester challenge here. I've got 2 of them. So the first one here is the Hiram ban was needed for a healthy Infinity format.
I don't think so. They did hire him dirty.
So we're challenging this.
Yeah,
we're challenging.
We're challenging. I don't think it's needed. A lot of people have made some really good points that plenty of other decks were just as strong, if not stronger. Hiram is more easily answered nowadays with things like Headless Horseman. Little Sisu is still always an option. Brawl comes back on the table in these Infinity. Just, I guess, I don't know. I don't. If you ban Hiram, I think kind of need to look at banning some maybe other cards. I won't point any fingers at like Prince John or anything like that. That would not be fair. But I just I kind of have to challenge it. I don't think it does much other than just like banish one like chunk of the meta.
Yeah. You know what? I tend to agree here. We talk a lot about how Hiram's my boy, and he has unfortunately been unfairly attacked. And I would like to file an appeal to the Ravensburger Supreme Court of Unjust Bans here, because it is just unfortunate that he takes all this heat when I agree with you. There are a lot of other cards that should have. And so I think I would feel less bad about this if there was like kind of a package of cards that they said, hey, we've evaluated Infinity over time. We've identified these, 5 or 6 cards that we think are just a little too overpowered in all of these like color combinations in these decks. So we're going to ban them. But I don't know. I think like really this in my mind only hurts 2 decks, and really I think out of those 2 decks really only really hampers one. So the 2 decks that I'm obviously referring to, just to say, is like Sapphire Steel, which I think is the one it hurts the most, and then Sapphire Ruby, which while I think hurts doesn't really like there. We've always seen kind of different alternatives on how that deck can work and have alternative card draw, and so it isn't the only thing. Maybe it slows it down a little bit. I don't know, but it can. If anything, it makes it harder. What I think actually ends up happening though is it makes it harder to compete with the discard deck. Like one of the that card that having Hiram allowed you to refill your hand, have answers, especially when you were going against discard decks. And now instead, it makes discard decks significantly more powerful against some of these decks. So there are less answers to be able to refill your hand. And I think that just ultimately really makes discard even more of a problem than it was already, right? So they kind of,
Yep.
you mentioned Prince John in particular, but like it definitely was one of those things where it's like really what discard also I think needs something needs to get banned from one of those decks.
Prince John.
Balance it out. Prince John probably.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, Hiram represented its 6 willpower meant that it was easy enough for it to survive on board against things like Emerald Steel, which are using, Storm, Strength, Zeus, which, it'd have to be a really big strength, right? None of those are taking out Hiram. It allows you to sort of refill your hand and stay alive until you get to something like B prep, or in Sapphire Steel's case, you kind of just draw endlessly, right? You end up just multiple Hirams and they kind of get overwhelmed. Is your hope, I think, because you don't really have that board wipe. Um, yeah, Ruby Sapphire, I think, is hurt a lot as well, because if you look at like a Manor deck, Hiram was one of its primary sort of draw engines. That or recycling the items, the popsicles with the medium Tammy, right? But the main difference between that and Sapphire Steel is that it wasn't as common to find the combo. You were able to find items faster. You had more because you had more of them, and you were able to I like that card. Might solve a mystery was pretty kind of broken to be able to find a character and an item that you wanted. But yeah, Hiram basically shuts off any, like, Sapphire no longer has draw. So it kind of means that the only reasonable Sapphire list I think would maybe work would be Blurple. But then you really just lack the board wipe. If you look at decks historically, they either want to try and go fast and shut you down, or they want to, wipe the board. Control deck really wants to wipe the board. And so you look at even Emerald Amber, which was really strong at the Infinity event in our local area at Collector Store. It uses like the Muses and Prince John and these warded characters. There's no way to interact with them, but they still get their abilities to go off every time
Right.
something happens. And it's, it's rough. These well, they have board wipes like Kita Under the Sea, but you take away a lot of those control decks, I think, and discard becomes really, really strong because only Amethyst can really keep up with the discard package that exists with Prince John. You just draw so many cards, insane.
Yeah, I think that's right. Well, that is the only thing we got here for Quester Challenge. It's a series I'd like to bring back, but we're going to move to answering your questions in Constituents Corner here. And I just want to shout out a big thanks to folks here who answered the call and commented down below on our last video. And I urge you to do so. Continue doing that. It helps the YouTube algorithm and helps get a discussion going as well. But obviously, if you don't want to do that, you can also go to our Discord and write your question at Constituents Corner. But our first question here is from EI Merrick Kinley at 8434. Yep, I don't know. Definitely butchered that. Question for Vince for the next pod. What prep did you do to be a judge? Are you on the Lorcana Rulebook Hub? Also, have you tried the Lorcana Judge Quiz? Let us know how you got on.
So first, before you answer that, I think this is our listener from Ireland.
Oh, yeah.
Or somewhere in the UK.
Oh, that's awesome.
So I believe they've won a giveaway before or something.
I think so. Yeah.
Because I think we've sent them stuff out in Ireland. So I also don't know how to pronounce your name. I really apologize. I'm not even going to try.
I apologize.
But
super bad too.
Yeah, I'm just I was just pointing out this is
that's awesome.
Irish,
that's
Irish
so cool. Yeah, that's awesome. It's so great that we have listeners all across the world. Um, so, honestly, when I do prep to be a judge, I do review. I have like a binder that has the most updated rules, and I'll kind of review the rules a lot and look to see what's changed. Um, but ultimately, like I'll just throw one thing I would ask Ravensburger here is please update the tournament correction guides. It has not been updated in a very, very long time. And I think that would be really, really helpful to create consistency across tournaments because, you'll see that there's disagreement amongst judges in the community on how to apply. And particularly, what I'm saying about is not so much what the difference in the rule is, so the rules have gotten a lot better over time, but what the I don't really want to say penalty, but like what the repercussion is if a player doesn't follow the rules. There's a lot of discussion on like how do you handle that, and it can vary from tournament to tournament. It can vary between judge to judge. So in some tournaments you could get things like game losses. In some tournaments they could just say fix it, don't and we'll move on. It all depends on what the issue is, but it would really be nice to have some consistency to fall back on so that players knew from tournament to tournament to what the penalty would be for some of these actions, right? And I generally at DLCs I'll say, and I'm generally a big fan of this. I think is as long as people aren't abusing it, which is that there is a general sense that we're trying to make this fun. We want people to have a good experience, so we want to lean more towards the side of fairness and making the experience good over being like harsher on the severity. Because it's a Disney card game, we want folks to have fun, but also like some people can take advantage of those leniencies as well, and so be having a system that is a little bit more fair, I think, helps as well. Um, but then the other thing I'll just say about being a Lorcana judge too is that uh, very little of your time is actually spent judging. Most of your time is really spent like organizing things, getting folks situated, making sure that everybody understands like when to start, when to stop, understanding time. It's also, but it's like a 90%. I would even say like 95% logistics and like maybe 5%. That's probably even too much judging calls. And even then, like you're never going to be perfect. The rule book is printed for a reason, so you have that as a resource. There's also other judges there that you can bounce facts on and stuff. I tell this story I think of at DLC Richmond where I wasn't even like I was not judging the main event at all. I was like in between doing things, like I was on a break and I was like walking past the main competition, and somebody like made it like it was like judge, and I like look around and I was like there's no one there, and so I was like all right, I'm gonna go over there. Andy, ROV Andy here, sitting right next to this person, and honestly the call was like pretty simple, but I panicked because I knew if I got this wrong Andy would not let me live it down.
I don't know. I think you're leaving out some important details. First off, this was the winning in for day 2. It was the last round of the first day. Vince was not judging this. They had, because of this, they had done the thing where they keep everyone out at the edges of the table, so no one was walking through the aisles or anything. Vince basically flashed his judge badge, used his I belong here, was walking up and down the aisle, basically trying to snoop on my game, and then got called as a judge. He wasn't just walking by. He
I was just walking by. Okay,
he used his judge privilege to go.
No, it's not abusing the judge privileges. I was
call.
I was fine. Also though, Andy did tell you told, but I knew it was like the win and in, but what I didn't know at the time though is the table that I made the judge call to was not part of the win and in, which makes the story even funnier. Because it was like is one of those assigned seating situations for the tournament. And so I thought it was like a win and in.
The most
so
important decision you've ever made.
Andy's gonna be right next to me. But I'll just say that you, as a judge, you can do a lot of things. You can do main events, you can do side events. There's also judges doing things over in the on-demand events. So running things like the pods for sealed and draft and pack rush. And you get judge calls about all of them. I'll honestly say core constructed is probably the easiest thing to judge, and everything else gets a little bit harder. And the reason why I say that is because Infinity, you see a lot more unique situations. And in draft and in even when you get like a call, like a judge call in pack rush, which really more is a very casual people like, how does this work? I just don't understand. Like, can they do this? And it's just because, like, again, these are cards that often like you open and you're like, this goes in my binder. I'm not going to play this, again, because it doesn't go into a competitive deck. And so there are interactions that can occur that are actually a little bit more uncommon. So when you're doing core constructed, you can see a lot of the same things happen over and over again. And so it's a lot easier to identify and make that call versus something that happens. And honestly, like, probably the most common judge call that occurs before we move on to the next question here is that people draw the wrong amount of cards.
Yep.
With like some sort of issue with like, they drew 8 cards instead of 7.
Yep.
How to handle that? Yeah. Game loss. Well, Andy over here would give a game loss for anybody that didn't report immediately. He'd disqualify them from the tournament. Be like, you didn't report your match. Good luck. You can leave now. That's what Andy's rule would be.
Listen, when they were calling people on the loudspeaker multiple times, to be fair, I did talk to one of the head judges in Richmond, and they said that they were calling them on the loudspeaker and starting a timer and giving them a loss to show up in a certain amount of time. So while I would have maybe made a shorter timer or started the timer a little earlier, we were on the same page. They were doing what I was saying. DQ them if they don't show.
Yeah, I know.
So you talk about how the quick aside, you talk about how the non-constructed ones, core constructed, are the most difficult to judge, perhaps. Imagine you're a judge and it's a starter deck tournament, and you give out a random starter deck plus 2 packs, and they build it from that. You hand the person the puppy location starter deck, Emerald Amber, and they open it up and they only have 4 out of 5 Dalmatian puppies. How do you remedy that situation?
Is the deck supposed to have 5?
Yeah, it's supposed to have 5.
I mean, honestly, if
like missing a card.
In that scenario, you can create, judges can create proxies.
They got me a new deck, and it had the 5 puppies. I gave them the old one back, and they got me a new one.
I mean, I guess that's probably an easier logistical situation.
They had to like go figure it out or whatever. I feel really bad, especially because I wasn't playing all 5 of those puppies or any of them. Probably the deck, those weren't the highlight. They weren't the premier cards of that deck.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, you could proxy a card. For
that happened to me at Gen Con, so that was fun.
Yeah.
We can go. You passed the judge test, right? Did you do the judge test?
Oh yeah, I did. I did barely. I mean, I got the 70 and in.
Same. Look at that. Me and Vince, we're basically the same level of judge right now. Don't ask me questions, people.
I think some of those questions were worded a little interestingly. And I'm not 100% convinced that the quiz, seeing some of those questions, were written with the latest comprehensive rules document being written. And also, like, there were certain things too that, again, we don't actually, like, I don't even think we have, like, a concrete answer to. So there's like a question. Well, I don't want to talk particularly about specific questions.
This is basically saying the quiz is trash, and
yeah, I wanted to, I wanted to catch myself there before I said something I probably shouldn't. But yeah,
it's a great.
But yeah, I mean, I would encourage you to do the. Everybody should do the quiz. I think it's it's fun. It's interesting. Get your lore guide credentials and activate it. And yes, I am in the Lorcana Rulebook Hub channel as well, which we'll link below in the show notes. And it's a fun place. We have a Jackalope Spam, who's an often commenter on our videos, is a big member of that channel as well, and will also post judge questions in our own channel quite frequently as well, which is always really fun. So thank you. We've got another international listener here, Hammy or Hammond. So when are you folks all going to be eating Vegemite? Thanks, Vince, for perpetuating the right way and not the gross spoonful way that most people do. Well, honestly, I'll just say right now, Hammond, that's due to you. You taught me the right way to do it, so I can teach them the right way to do it. But maybe we'll do it on Saturday. Maybe I will. Maybe a Saturday would be a good time to do it. I've got the little things of Vegemite for us to do. I was gonna have us do it all in the pod, but it might be a way.
I need the whole jar.
All right, JDZ. But yeah. So tune in on Saturday. Honestly, if we do it, I might make that a particularly like a TikTok short. All right. Next question, also from YouTube here, is Dragonia9. Do you think that when the rotation happens again, will it be like another Fabled set, or will they finally create a core constructed set alongside Into the Wilds?
Wilds Unknown is not when it rotates, right? Attack of the
Attack of the Vine is when it rotates.
So Attack of the Vine will be only 5 sets. It will be 9 through 13.
That's right.
14, 13. It'll only be 4 sets? No,
there'll be 5 sets.
9,
so
10.
It'll be Fabled through
13.
Attack of the Vine.
Okay.
So
I first off, I say I hope not. I really hope that it's not another Fabled. I kind of believe the Lorcana conspiracy theories, or however proven or not proven they may be, that Fabled wasn't exactly meant to be that way. I really don't think that Ravensburger was like, yeah, we totally want to just like do a 85% reprint set with no new art whatsoever. Like, they probably didn't want to do that. They had some course correcting to do and things. And it feels like they can very easily just set these goals for themselves and say, look, let's not need any of these older cards. Let's try and design the game in such a way that we know we're losing those cards, and we either make replacements for them that have slight tweaks to them and things like that. As opposed to saying like, well, gotta reprint this card again. Gotta keep this card going over and over. Because that's another thing. Like, getting reprints is fine. Getting a lot of reprints in one set is really not great. But imagine if like they just reprint Captain Hook every set. It's like, okay, I don't need 10 different Captain Hook, right? Like, what? Stop reprinting it multiple times. So worst case,
except Dalmatian Puppy, you can reprint that every single set.
That's fine. I think
99 of them.
I think worst case is that like we see a set that has like there's still some reminiscence. You know, they can't let go of that many, and so like instead of 80% reprints, you know, maybe it's 30% print, right? As opposed to the what we have in between, which is like 2 reprints per set. So like 1%.
Yeah.
But I really hope that they just keep up doing what they're doing, reprint, you know, 2, maybe 10, maybe do like 10 on like a rotation set or something like that. But nah, move on.
Yeah, I agree. I think we know, at least I think they like insinuated pretty heavily when Fabled came out that this was a one-time exception. Uh and they don't anticipate doing this. What I wouldn't be surprised to see is that instead of now where we have like, 1 to 3, maybe 4 reprints. I don't actually know how many reprints are in Winter Spell. I think it's more than 2.
Is it?
Um uh but uh but I wouldn't be surprised if we see more reprints per set on average versus having one big huge reprint set that Fabled was. I mean, Fabled was kind of disappointing in a few ways for me. One is it's still actually one of the hardest sets to get. Because I mean, again, we don't know this for sure, but it seems like it was short printed. And as a result, those cards typically, especially the cards that are only found in Fabled, can be somewhat expensive, especially if they're meta relevant, like that Dumbo. Is pretty expensive. And those, iconics are actually some of the most expensive iconics. And part of that is obviously they were the first iconics that ever got released. They're Mickey and Minnie, but also like there just wasn't, I don't think, that many of them out there as there are the iconics that followed in the following sets that we. So
also, you told me after we pulled the iconic that Elsa from first chapter would be worth way more than the iconic Mickey. And
I did. I was wrong. I was 100% wrong.
So it was karma that also drove the price up. Sure.
Well, I mean, I made the mistake of thinking that they were going to print more of Fabled than they did, and they didn't. So that was my bad. I wish I would have known that because it took me forever to get a sealed trove for my collection. I had to wait until DLC Richmond to like get a sealed trove for Fabled.
Well, they also didn't release it in a couple different, right? So I think it was released in the European languages, but it's not. There is no Fabled in Japan or China. Is that accurate?
That's right. What they did is they put them in those
packs, yeah.
promo packs. Yeah.
Just 33 cards, which apparently has a decent chance of getting an iconic because all the iconics and enchanteds and special cards that are in there, the non-reprints, makes those packs really, really cool and really, really high value.
Mm-hmm.
But that alone just means that there's less of those, out there. There was also 4 prints in Winter Spell. Let It Go, Strike a Good Match, Distract, Hey.
Okay. All right.
So there's been 2 in a couple others. So I think 4 might be the most we've had outside of Fable.
And you may have meant this in your question, but I think ultimately what they may do instead, because I think we talked about this last week actually, is what I would like to see them do is have maybe like an infinity set that is more geared to putting the prints from those previous sets into the card pool and stuff. So you get because like here's the thing, it's like think about a card. Man, I'm probably gonna struggle here now because like Hiram would have been my go-to. Well, like say Maui, right? Maui Hero to All. That was last printed in the first chapter. So that card is probably increasingly going to be difficult to get as time goes on. And if it is a meta relevant card in Infinity, you've got how do you get that back into, so either you have to reprint that in for core constructed, or
Right.
you have to find a way to get that into the hands of folks that play Infinity.
That's why in certain games like Magic the Gathering, where they have formats that allow basically every card from the beginning of time, those cards that are really old and thus more expensive are really powerful. And then it ends up becoming basically a pay to win.
Yeah.
Do you have the $40,000 worth of cards that make up this deck? Because
Right.
they're all like, cards that haven't been printed since 1989 or whatever.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, that'd be one thing to consider. But at first, what I thought you meant is like they print cards that work well with cards in Infinity. So, like Wilds Unknown, for us at least, is an Infinity set, right? That comes out there. We don't that synergizes with every card ever. Rip Hiram. Actually, and Fortis, no, not Fortisphere because we're doing Infinity. Fortisphere is still
Yeah.
fine, but what you can't do, you know, card that synergizes with, Big Tammy, right? He's out of
Yeah.
rotation, right? He was set
The
one, yeah.
set one, yes, the 8-drop
Yeah,
Tammys.
so 8-drop Tammy. Card that synergizes great with him, right? Whatever it is. You can't you put that into Wilds Unknown, like, that's so cool because Infinity is so relevant because we're all about to do an Infinity DLC, and Wilds Unknown is the set that is released right before it. But now, 1 month later, you know, after that DLC, now that we're all playing Core Constructed and getting ready for championships or other big events, you're just like, well, now this card is terrible, right? Like, why did you print this card? It only works with the card that I can't play anymore because it's been rotated out. And so,
Right.
yeah, it'll be interesting to see where they take it, but
Yeah.
especially with adding new franchises too, adding all of Pixar and stuff, less and less room for new cards. Opinion.
Yeah, I think that's right. I what I don't I probably will change my mind as we get on into further on in the game's like history. But right now, what I don't want to see is I don't want to see kind of like the maybe what you would think I was saying, like a commander-esque format for Lorcana, where it's like you get packs that are Infinity cards, but you can only play those, like they're new cards, they're Infinity cards, but they can only be played in Infinity, right?
Yeah.
So they can't be played in core constructed, because you have that in Magic where you get cards that are only, you can only play them in Commander. You can't play them in any other format. And maybe I'll change my mind on that, but at least for right now, I like that an Infinity is all encompassing of all the cards, not exclusive cards just to Infinity. But I do think there's always going to be this question of like, how do you get cards that we don't want to see reprinted, but are still meta relevant in Infinity back into the game, but they're no longer really relevant, or they may break core constructed in an unusual way.
Side product. What if they just release, they do the Elsa box, the Lilo box, Scrooge box, they do these binder sets or whatever. They could certainly release like, an Infinity starter box,
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
they could
100%.
honestly they could make Infinity booster pack, right? Just booster packs of, you know, hottest cards from Infinity last season or whatever, or just random ones or all of them for all I care.
You know how much we would all run to go buy them, probably for like the alt arts.
It might be cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's it for Constituents Corner. Again, I really appreciate it. Ask those comments in the questions on the comments on the YouTube. We really, really, really appreciate it. Like I said, it helps the YouTube algorithm. And also, you can come and join us on our Discord. But with that, we'll get into a little bit of the main segment here, which we're just going to continue talking about the meta as we're getting into set champs for Winter Spell. Are you ready, Andy?
Not really. Kind of just been lazily observing. I haven't practiced too much. I've been helping Kirsten mostly get ready with her Amber Steel. She's really enjoying the Diego song list. It's not the Sky version, the Diego version with the rhinos, and no Ariel, but yeah, there's a lot of decks that I wouldn't mind playing. I'll probably try and switch it up. I might pull a Captain Jimmy and do the Captain Jimmy challenge, which is play a different deck at every set champs, see how well you do throughout the season. It'll probably depend on how well I do throughout the season. I kind of change my opinion as I go, right? I'm like, I'm doing really bad. Maybe I not, play a troll deck this week. Maybe I actually try a little harder or something. But yeah, Blurple, Baja. Not been digging Amethyst Steel as much, but I do understand. I do respect that it's really strong. But Blurple, Baja. I've been really liking Amber Ruby. The Boosties version. Dogs is also still very playable. A lot of stuff that I've been considering. What about you, Vince? Still on Blurple?
You know what? I'm still on Blurple. I did build the one of the decks from Through the Decades, the Amethyst Amber deck. But I really like the consistency of Amethyst Sapphire. The Blurple deck just is still a very solidly consistent deck, and there are just bad matchups, but at least you kind of know what you're getting to. What?
Just auto loss. I think into
Baja
Baja and
do you think that is an auto
Amber
loss?
Sapphire. Sometimes Amber Sapphire is not as much of an auto loss. Like you still have a little bit of a chance, but into Baja, I played 3 of them at Through the Decades. I only won 1 against Chip and a teammate, and frankly, it was because he bricked.
Yeah, you have to really hope you get pretty lucky. But we do. I mean, we just see that it's the Blurple deck is still doing really well in all of these tournaments. It's not necessarily winning the tournaments everywhere, right? But I mean, to be fair, there is no deck. There is no single deck that's winning all of them. This isn't like previous sets where we've been like, if you're not playing Blurple, you're wrong, or you're not playing, Amber Steel, you're wrong. There are sets where it's like there was a very clear winner, and I think here we've just seen a lot of diversity for all these tournaments on what is being played, and where. And granted, some of that is meta dependent of those local areas, right? Like I think you talked about last week, or Through the Decades, that in that area, Amethyst Amber was a very popular local deck, and so that's why it was seen there a lot. And so I think the CCQs probably represent a more local-ish meta because people are going there and they play in that area, so they know the folks that are playing. But when you look at these bigger tournaments, we're still seeing a lot of diversity on who's winning. We've seen Baja win, we've seen Blurple win, we've seen we've seen Amber Steel win, we've seen you tick off the deck dogs. Just there's so many good decks. There's no wrong answer. But the issue is that all of these decks have bad matchups, where I think they are either like we talked about here, with Baja and Blurple. That's a auto loss unless you get really lucky. And there are a lot of decks that have auto loss matchups or very, very challenging matchups. So a lot really, I think, depends on like what are your matchups and how confident are you at playing your deck and how confident is your opponent in playing their deck, right? And so because you can get a lot of variation of skill and stuff. So, it does take skill to pilot a Baja deck. It is not an autopilot deck where you play these things and you do these things. It still has choices, and you can make those wrong choices. It is forgiving in some ways. For some reason, never forgiving when I play it though. It's like I always lose in that deck. But I like I said, I just don't think there are any real wrong answers, and we're seeing a pretty healthy spread of the meta out there. You know, so for those of you that are bored, and just say you're wrong. This is the best meta we've ever had in the game.
Oh, and I know Baja doesn't play the Bend to My Will anymore, but I think we bring it back so that you can. What you do is you flood the board. You keep up the board back and forth. You then Prince Philip combo, and then the next turn you clean up whatever character they played, and then you Cindy double sail, Ink Geyser, and then you ink for turn, ink for both sails. So you go up to 6, and then you Cindy ink on the next one. And then on their turn, they go to 4 ink, play one character, then you play Bend to My Will, and you discard their entire hand. And so now you have a big Prince Philip on board. Any other characters you've played throughout the game, they have 1 4-cost or less character on the board at best. And they have 4 ink and 0 cards.
I would quit the game, I think.
That's it.
I'd be like, I'm done. I'm out.
They come up to me before Top Cut and they'd be like, Andy, why has every person you've played today dropped out of the tournament immediately after playing? Like, hey, mate, it's the Prince Philip Ink Geyser Bend to My Will combo.
Why is little Timmy in the corner crying? I think what's really interesting, and I do think the CCQ in Canada is a really good representation of kind of where the meta is that we're seeing decks in order to respond to the variety of the meta out there, they are becoming more toolbox heavy decks. So what I found really interesting is that a lot of decks are running some form of item removal. So that's something that seems to be becoming a little bit more standard across the board.
Wow.
The other thing.
Deck list. Are you looking at his deck list?
The purple
their
steel
deck list, Chris's deck list?
Yeah.
Man, this is giving me a headache. Too many cards. Too many cards with too many different numbers next to them.
61 cards. So, like you look here, they're playing the Benja, a 2 of there. Interesting, they're playing this Pocahontas.
Oh no.
And then there was one other. The Christopher Robin, I actually think is an interesting card.
Good card.
I haven't really actually interacted with too much Amethyst Steel lately, so I don't know if this card was included earlier or not, but that's one that kind of highlighted to me as being a really interesting card. But like you look at the Blurple deck and it's playing Wasabi. I mean, it is just a 1 of.
Yeah, I played a 1 of us.
But yeah, in rounding out the top 8, there were 2 Blurple decks. There were 2 Dogs decks, 1 Baja deck, and I feel like I missed one.
You had to beat Blurple in the final.
Oh, I'm sorry. There were 3. There were
they beat
3. There were
Dogs.
3 purple steel decks.
So
In the
Purple
top 8.
Steel had to beat either Blurple or Baja to get to the finals, and then they beat Dogs, which beat the other one, Blurple or Baja. So that's not the craziest path, but I don't know. This Purple Steel list, and this is one of the reasons I don't like Purple Steel as much this set, is because it kind of feels like it has too many good cards, too many needed cards. It's a toolbox that has too many tools in it, kind of overflowing. You know, you can barely kind of get it shut, and you kind of have to like sit on it a little bit to close it up. In fact,
Yeah.
you gotta have to hold one of the cards outside of the toolbox when you carry it somewhere. But like,
It does feel like a very Frank Karsten-esque type style deck, though.
yeah, it can go fast, right? You got the Christopher Robin line if you're going second, or even just like Palace Guard into Christopher Robin or Pocahontas into like Genie, the book Genie, right? Magical Researcher. That card went unanswered. Just get boosted a couple times. Plus with the Pocahontas, now you're questing 3 with the Genie, 4 for the Pocahontas, that's 7 in one. You have only 3 giant cobras, and only 2 of those genies and 1 of those Pocahontases. And so you're kind of just like, okay, I'm playing against Baja, right? Or I'm playing against Blurple. I can't win the control game. So I need to just go as fast as I can in some, you know, reasonable manner. Obviously, you can't just like floor it and hope to be able to win, but like hope that I can just play better value cards and quest and get a lot of free lore early. But you're like, but then you hit like Captain Hook Calhoun into Benja, Angel, Little Demona, you know, Tigger, Big Demona. You're just like, what am I supposed to do with these cards, right? These are cards that if I see them in the wrong matchup, they become like really or very, very unfortunate. You know, Angel in particular, Steel Angel, what is that doing to Blurple, right? Who's that helping? What is that helping get rid of? Especially the threat of Cheshire Cat existing.
Yeah, I mean, you're really gonna use Angel, I think, to either eliminate a character or finish a character, right?
Right. But I mean, at best you're getting their Basil or Tipo, right? Royal Guard Rafiki, you know, these 1-drops. But again, you're Amethyst Steel, so you're, you know, not really pushing that fast unless you've gone these other lines instead.
Yeah.
So it's
Interesting. I think the most interesting card in this deck, which I probably would be the card that I would cut, the easy top one here, is this Pluto Steel Champion to get to 60 cards.
yeah, I'm probably with you there. Probably that well. Fire the Cannons, honestly. Maybe should be cut too. You're playing Angel, mate. You have 56 Fire the Cannons. Sorry, you have 3 Angels. So you have 57 Fire the Cannons in your deck once you find one of those Angels. I just
yeah, that's also honestly like kind of a fair.
I want
fair
more
point
Hades.
too.
I want more Hades looking for a deal.
You really, really like that card.
I'm thinking that card's pretty good.
I also like, I mean, it's been a while since I've played Amber Steel, Amethyst Steel. I'm a little surprised to not see Book in here.
Yeah, book. Well, so Hades is almost like a book.
Hades is kind of a book, yes.
And you know, if they're playing characters that and you're removing them, that kind of sets up for something like Yzma still.
Yeah.
You also, this one isn't playing Dumbo, right? Did we notice that? There's no
Oh,
Dumbo.
I did notice that. But honestly, like, I guess that's fine,
So,
really.
well, there's no
So
infinite draw engine in that. So now all of your, your draw is just Yzma, Demona, Hades, depending on the deal that they make with you.
yeah, I just think Yzma is even worse now though, because there's so much better, more removal now.
Fair.
Uh, that it's like it's less good. But I don't know. I'll be honest with you, like I'm speaking this from this perspective that I really haven't had interactions with this deck very much. I think the one interaction I had with it was at DLC Melbourne, and I ended up winning that match. Like it wasn't even particularly challenging.
Yeah. Yzma is only real threat was kind of on the draw when like Elsa or Let It Go was in play by the time, they're on 5, you're on 4. Uh then but now with Steel, because Steel wasn't really played as much back in Richmond. Amber Steel became more relevant. And
Yeah,
now with being able to sing Thunderbolt, 4 of Thunderbolt in a lot of these Amber Steel lists are uh, definitely making something like Yzma a little harder to pull off. Um, Same kind of goes for Dumbo. I do like that if you already have the evasives in play, you can play out the Dumbo, trigger them right away, because Dumbo is as easy of a target essentially as Yzma is.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, I don't know. I like the idea of a toolbox, but I'm I think maybe some of these tools are too specific, right? I want a toolbox where every tool can be a hammer, right? And most of the tools can be a screwdriver, right? And a couple of them I can chop things with them, right? But this, I feel like some of them are just like some of them are hammers only, and others are like, you know, sandpaper only. Like they are very opposite sides
Yeah.
of scale.
To be fair, though, what do we know? I mean, this deck
They
did
did
take
win.
down 126 player. But I mean, I think we're just speaking. In fairness here, I think the
Yeah,
point to be made here is that there are an infinite, I think, number of ways to make a deck, and I'd be curious a little bit more about why some like what the justification for some of these cards are. But it worked in this particular tournament.
yeah.
I actually will say one thing I'm a little surprised about, and it's one thing that I kind of struggle with, is I'm a little surprised in the Blurple decks here to still see Iago being played with so many,
So much Amber
uh,
Steel.
with so much Amber Steel, and and just the ability. I mean, I even think like a lot of dogs decks are playing the Delilah Moon's Lullaby too.
Della's.
Della.
Yeah, Della's
Thank
being played in Amber Steel, Ruby, and Amber Emerald dogs. So Della's gets played a lot. Um, that's really like the worst one to get hit by Iago. I don't know, man. I'm kind of with you. I hate Iago. Like he's a good character, 4/6, but um, and I just hate that he like that feeling when he gets removed by something stupid. It's like, come
Yeah, it's like
on, why am I playing this card in my deck? I just got
it is really a very
improvise.
much like, come on, mate, really?
Yeah. So I like the Demona, the little Demona, 4/6, cost 4. I think the Stone by Day is not as big of a deal. Obviously, it is invasive. Blurple, you could pair it with Ink Runner. You can also just really say, well, it's not there to challenge evasive characters. I'll use my Into the Unknown, Let It Go, Hades on those evasive characters, perhaps win those evasive wars. Um, you really wanted Sven. It's obviously uninkable, but it hits for more than Iago, and it is still evasive. a lot less willpower than Iago. There's a lot of considerations in there, depending on what you're looking to get out of it. But I tend to agree with you that, like, seeing these lists with 4 Iagos, and I'm like, I don't know that quad Iagos is the hand to push all in on here, mate. I'm not.
Yeah.
Uh,
I definitely, I'm definitely becoming less and less a fan of Iago. I mean, just in particular, dude, like just because it's so easy to remove in with these like really cheap action items, and it's just like, what are we doing here? Like, why am I spending this when I could develop, uh, like we've talked about that Demona, or I could put down any
Genie.
like a Dumbo, a Genie, I could put more threats on the board. And sure, the 4/6 Iago is a big threat, and you could argue that they have to answer it, but they can just answer it so cheaply. And I guess the other consideration you might have is that with Dumbo, it synergizes with that like draw engine. But I'll tell you, in my own experience, like if you're really at that point, you're probably winning the game, right? Like you're not. I don't
Depends against
know
the
that.
deck you're going against.
Yeah, I don't know that I'm.
Because you can Iago on 4, right, and then Dumbo on 5, and play the Iago,
Sure.
and use the Iago's ability right away, and that is like a great play. That even if they then blow up the Dumbo, you're still not like out of it. But yeah, you could play
But I
Ryder
mean, on one
though.
turn they can blow up the Dumbo and take your Iago with a cheap item.
For me, it's like it's that the fact that Della's is a valuable card in 3 decks that are 2 of which are in the top tier: Amber Steel and Amber Emerald, 1 Amber Ruby, which is probably top of tier 2 in that range. And they are already playing this card. They don't care whether you have Iagos or so. Like, you're kind of walking in the trap of this. But Iago ebbs and flows, right? Those cards will go out of the meta. People will stop thinking Iago is a big deal, and they'll go, okay, well, I'm not using Della's as much, so I'll take a little less of them because I haven't seen as many. That's what happens with Hypnotic Strength. In fact, maybe bringing back Hypnotic Strength or your favorite Magical Maneuvers in Blurple for the mirrors, but Blurple in the mirror, I think, is a whole different story, because you don't really care about the mirror in Blurple. You really need to survive both the aggro and the better control decks than you.
Yeah. You know what you need in the mirror for Blurple? Is a loaded die. That's what you need.
You need card draw. Card draw wins it. I put a 1 Finder Keepers
at the beginning of the game. Like, I win.
This one would be insane, but it's so bad against aggro. But second star to the right, also Finders Keepers is the one I've been playing.
To be clear, I'm just joking. I'm joking. Don't use a loaded dice. But I do find that like you are significantly favored on the play going first.
That's fair.
But any other last thoughts before we move on to Villain of the Week?
No, let us know what you're gonna play, Shut Champs, in the comments down below. I'd really love to hear about it. And then come back to the video on Monday and leave another comment. Let us know how you did in your set champs with that deck. Let us know. Are you gonna adjust some things before the next one? We want to hear your opinions in the comments. It's a great place.
Yeah. All right, and with that,
Villain of the Week.
Apologies to Gantu. Andy, you want to read this card?
Certainly. We have Lilo, Escape Artist. She's a 2-cost, 1 strength, 2 willpower, Storyborn hero that quests 2 with the ability No Place I'd Rather Be. The start of your turn, if this card is in your discard, you may play her, and she enters play started. It is a super rare from set 6, and the art is by
I'm laughing
Gregor
for
Krysinski.
yeah.
Um,
For the listeners, I was watching our show notes and Andy blew up the card so we
couldn't read
could
it.
see
Couldn't read
the
it.
art.
There's a couple extra letters in there that kind of threw me off. I don't know exactly how to pronounce some of the plumage on the letters, if you will. But I'm gonna go with Grzegorz Krysinski. If that's not right, I apologize, G. But that's the artist. So yeah, Lilo Escape Artist is a pretty good card. It's one of those cards that like I don't think ever is really like spotlight of the deck. It's one of these cards that like pulls its own weight and potentially then some more in a lot of decks. We've seen it in Dogs. You Bobby it away, draw a discard, throw it away with Bobby. We've seen that in Amber Steel with Mulan, draw and discard, throw it away. Big Tramp in Dogs, easy to get rid of that Lilo. Playing against discard has advantage there. Board wipe is another one. Being able to recur this right after a board wipe is just crazy. Chromacon. I saw the tweet from Thiago recently. It was this would definitely a contender for a top tweet of 2026 thus far. S tier tweet said that dopamine hit when you bring back Lilo from your discard to play with a Chromacon. With a Chromacon in play. So it was like, yeah, there's nothing greater than just being like, I'm gonna bring my Lilo back, and if you take it out, bouncing something of yours back to your hand. So, zombie Lilo, as the as the kids call them,
As you call them.
Yeah,
I believe you have like 600 of them on your desk too.
Oh no, I put them all away.
Oh no!
Cleaning up my desk. I cleaned them up literally earlier today. But yeah, I do have like 700 of them. I'm cornering the market on Lilo Escape Artist promos from the boxes.
You're like the Duke and Duke brothers. That's a deep cut reference for those that don't know. But yeah, I don't really have anything to add. I mean, it's really annoying when you're playing a game and you're like, I finally have control. I've got it going. And then they're like, I'm going to put this right back out.
Yeah.
And I'm just going to keep putting it out.
At its worst, it's wasting 2 characters from your opponent. It like delays them from being able to quest and like continue on the game because they constantly have to deal with these 2.
So yeah, it's pretty annoying. I will just say that this artist, Grzegorz Krysinski, I said it a little differently than Andy, but maybe I'm wrong as well. I apologize.
GK, my boy GK.
Only has 2 other cards, and both of them are enchanted. It's the Kita, Protector of Atlantis, and Spooky Sight.
Ooh.
Yeah. So both very good cards. That I've seen play in varying ways. Although Spooky Sight isn't nearly as played as I think we thought it was when it was like initially released. Like everybody was like, "Oh my god, look at this amazing card."
I guess we should also shout out Grace Tran, who's the artist of the promo version.
Oh yeah, absolutely. We should.
Have we met them at a? Have we gone to their signings? I guess not.
I don't know. I don't think so.
Have a lot of cards. Holy smoke! Louis Benja, Big Sisu, Purple Maleficent, Cindy Stouthearted, No Ink, Exerted Daisy, Chicha, Enchanted Genie, Rapunzel, DLC promo, Cusco.
Okay. Wow.
Enchanted
Grace Tran is
Blue Sisu.
Prolific.
They did the Beast Park promos. The Daisy.
Oh,
Duck-
I was gonna say I don't have that one, but I do. I don't have the Bell promo.
Oh, Lilo causing an uproar enchanted. I love. Well,
Yeah.
shout out Grace and Gregor or GK, my boy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Well, with that, let us know your thoughts on the villain of the week. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. If you're joining us on audio, please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.
And if you're joining us on YouTube, which if you're not, you really should. We have a lot of fun over here. Like, subscribe, ring that bell. See you tomorrow at the live stream.
Yeah. We also understand your time is valuable, so we appreciate you spending it with us. If you'd like to follow along, you can find us on all the socials at Rules of Villainy and join us on our Discord. Comment below too. But until next week, stay safe, fellow villains. Be wary of wannabe heroes who want to disrupt your villainous plans. And as always, remember the rules of villainy.